Hey everyone, welcome back. This is another episode of Open Book, and as always, I love Open Book. So for those not familiar with Open Book, it's a way for us to introduce other people out there that are attached to amazing organizations doing amazing things. So I'm Billy Price, co-founder of Billy Footwear, and today we have Rachel. She is the director of CVINow.org. And Rachel, I am so excited for our conversation.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here, Billy. I'm a huge fan of you and Billy's Footwear for so many reasons. So this is an honor.
Well, there's so many things I want to ask you. And before we start talking about shoes, I would love to learn more about CVI Now. So what is CVI Now? How you got involved? I'm here to listen. So let's hear it.
Let's go. Let's dive in. So CVI stands for Cerebral/Cortical Visual Impairment. It's a brain-based visual impairment where the brain has a difficult time visually attending to the world around you and recognizing all things about the world. Usually we think of blindness and low vision as had something to do with the eyes, but really vision is built in the brain. We see with our brains. The eye just takes in information. And so people with CVI have a very difficult time being able to look at things, being able to recognize what they're looking at, being able to use vision when it's really noisy, when there's lots of visual clutter, when it's hot outside, when they're tired, their vision shuts down. So it's a massive issue, and it's a big deal for anybody with CVI. Because it's brain-based, it can manifest differently, but there are many common behaviors and traits that go with it. So CVI Now is also actually the leading cause of childhood blindness and low vision, even though the educational and medical community still have a long way to catch up with it and to fully serve our kids and adults with CVI. We're getting there, though. Just recently, the National Institutes for Health had a big CVI meeting, and it's become a priority for them so that we have a federal agency paying attention to it. And it really has to do with thanks to the advocacy of so many caregivers and educators on the front lines, really fighting for our kids. I'm a CVI parent myself. My son Henry has CVI and other disabilities. He loves his Billies. We'll talk about that later. But his CVI was missed until he was about 5.5. And unfortunately, that's common. Some kids don't get diagnosed until they're a teenager because of other conditions have overshadowed it, some when they're young adults. And imagine going through the world where nobody knew you were on the blindness spectrum. I mean, it's just wild. And talk about not having access to not only your learning, but the world around you and all the issues that can come with that. So I work here at Perkins School for the Blind. We are a leader in disability education. We stand for disability inclusion. And about 5 years ago, they really started stepping up around the issue of the CVI crisis. How can we step up as a leader? How can we get the field to move forward and be able to get CVI recognized on all stakeholders and all systems? It's a big goal. We started the CVI Center. Along with that came CVINow.org, which is a go-to website mainly for families, but also professionals. We have university programs using it. It's comprehensive, it's research-based, it centers the lived experiences of people with CVI and their families first and foremost, but it also is based on research because families have a right to have access to current vetted information. And we also have a big online Facebook community that goes with it, where parents really have strong, rich discussions. And we're doing a lot of outreach work with different associated condition communities. Many with CVI also have cerebral palsy, Down syndrome. There's correlation with autism, developmental delays, epilepsy. Really, if you think about anything brain-based, there's a potential to have it to CVI also be co-occurring. So it's a big, widespread issue. We have a huge heterogeneous population, and we're just getting started. But really, kids, adults with CVI, they have a right to an early diagnosis. They have a right to effective vision services. They have a right to accessible education and to live in this world with joy and purpose and belonging. And that's what we're doing here. It's a long answer.
That was an incredible answer. That was absolutely amazing. So first off here, let's throw some information up here. So on website, so you mentioned the website. So it's www.cvinow.org.
Yeah.
And also on social, for both Facebook and Instagram, it has the social handle CVI Now. Wow. So, I mean, I don't know where to start here because you covered so much stuff, which is so incredible. I think something that came to mind though when you were talking about that, I'm a parent. I've got a 5-year-old. I've got an almost 2-year-old, and I always kind of wonder what's going on inside their brains and what they're thinking as they're learning and what they're seeing. And it's always, I don't think there's any vision impairment, but I'm very curious. As a parent, what are some things that we can look for as leading indicators that there might be something going on?
That's a great question. And, first of all, there's not even a standardized vision screener for newborns here. So it's normal for vision not to be on a parent's radar. It wasn't on my radar. Henry was my first. Having his sister, I'm realizing, oh, that's how vision's supposed to develop. But, so it's already, to even take a step back, we need to have a much more standardized approach to getting what normal vision and normal visual development looks like on every single parent's radar. There's that. When it comes to CVI, think about the daily routines. Think about mealtime. How are they when they're eating? Are they looking at their food? Do they notice when you're bringing a bottle or a spoon close to them? Do they open their mouth? Do they miss some parts of their food on their plate because they may have a visual field loss? How are they when they go to a new busy place? Do they cling to you? Do they get really upset really easily? Do they fall to the ground? Many with CVI have a very difficult time just existing in a really loud, noisy, busy place with lots of movement. It's really incredibly overwhelming. And then you might start seeing a CVI meltdown, those outward behaviors that they're just totally overdone. Think about how they get around. How are they navigating stairs? Are they looking down when they go down the stairs? Do they heel drag? Do they toe tap to see if the stairs are done? Do they cling on to the railing? Think about when they come to a curb or a drop off. Do they pause? Do they trip? If there's even thinking about back to with Henry, if there's any type of change to the surface, even like from tile to wood, he would sit down because he had no idea if it was a step or a drop. He had no idea. He would just sit down and scooch over it. And just think about how they're looking. When you give them a toy, do they know where the on switch is? If it's one of those type of toys, do they put things up close to their eyes? Do they have a head tilt? Because a lot of times maybe it's like the right upper field is the best way to look. Are they interested in new things? Do they maybe mistake things because it's the same color? And the list goes on and on just about ways that you can really recognize CVI and abnormal vision. The thing is that a lot of our kids create these incredible workarounds and strategies using non-visual skills. So it may look like they're looking or recognizing, but they may have touched something ahead of time, or they're using color coding skills, or they're using context and memory. And so you have to be careful observers. But those are just some of the things to look for.
Well, I think you touched on, earlier, you're touching on, and it really kind of blew my mind when you're saying you see with the brain.
Yeah.
Which
yeah, I know.
Which makes a ton of sense, meaning that it seems like all your other senses, maybe smell, maybe taste, maybe touch, that's helping you formulate whatever picture you have in your head of what you're seeing. So I can completely appreciate what you're talking about, where those workarounds that are already being developed in those young minds.
Yeah, vision is our distant sense. It verifies so much around us. It verifies what we hear. If we run into something, it can help us understand. Those of us who are sighted can take in a visual scene in an instant, but people with CVI often only see one thing at a time, and so they miss so much around you. And when you're not able to fully take in the visual scene and you're not able to observe what's going on around you, you miss something that's called incidental learning. And this is actually such a foundation for how we all learn. So it's just being able to observe what's going on around you. Just understanding concepts of you see somebody pour cereal in a bowl. There's so many concepts that you learn just from observing that as a kid. Not saying people with CVI who don't have access to incidental learning can't learn at all. It just means that they require intensive instruction, direct instruction, bringing things to them. And so it has a big impact, and it's a big deal. And our kids just need the services to succeed.
So if as a parent, if we start seeing these indications, how should we respond? What's the next step? Because CVI Now obviously is an amazing resource, but how do you get connected, and how do you find some answers to some of these concerns as a concerned parent?
great question. Yeah. What are those next steps? So definitely go to CVI Now, a huge resource to learn about it. But we also, if you're on Facebook, join our parent community and start asking questions, but go to an ophthalmologist or a neuro-ophthalmologist or optometrist. The problem is not all of them know about CVI. And so when you call, you need to ask, do you know about these brain-based visual impairment called CVI? We have a medical director in CVI Now with a beginning list. So that's something you can check out. And then while you wait for maybe a potential diagnosis to get evaluated, you should also bring this to your early intervention team or your school team and ask them to do an assessment to understand how your child is and is not using their vision to access their learning, what barriers are in place. Because if an assessment finds that, then they can qualify for services, even when you don't have a diagnosis.
Wow. Oh man. So when I hear access to all this information, it just takes me down this trip down memory lane when I was doing my own rehab. Like after I fell from a window, I broke my neck and a spinal cord injury. So I was in rehab for 5.5 months. And this was 1996. And it just was very challenging to try to find information about, or even like a mentor, or even like another family member out there, or I should say another family out there that had already walked this path or like gone through this path to be able to reach out and be able to like just have a shoulder to cry on. And I mean, there's tremendous support, friends and family and stuff like that. But to be able to get connected with someone that has been in those trenches before, it was very difficult. So hearing, that list that you just gave of being able to get connected, it's so inspiring. I mean, because I think it just gives a leg up on so many folks. And I would imagine you get phone calls all the time or get connected with the folks that, are just kind of desperate for answers, but more importantly, they just want to know they're not alone.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. We have a new one-to-one parent call program too. So parents just want to call and talk about anything, it's huge. And what you bring up is like, grief is a huge part of this whole journey, no matter where you are. And, I had to learn a lot about what grief actually is. It's not just losing somebody, right? It's, the pain of seeing your kid in pain, the pain of, navigating a really uncertain journey, being a disability and a parent, raising a kid with disabilities in society that actively chooses not to be fully accessible and inclusive. It's the hardest thing. And at every turn in this journey, I have to prove that he's worthy and enough because he has disabilities. And that's the most heartbreaking thing I have to do as a parent. And I'm never going to be okay with that. And I think just naming that and putting out the hard truth that this is not okay and it's really hard for us, and all the grief and loss and pain that comes with this is the only way we can just be able to move through this and find, the sustainability and joy and all of that. And so I hope you found that eventually. Did you find that eventually, Billy, for you?
I did. Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, it was just more of like a word of mouth kind of thing. And then there were a lot of support groups, like very much in the like meetup groups. I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily support groups. One thing I would say is like, I would say this injury it was and probably still is harder on my parents than it is on me.
Can you say more about that?
Oh, well, I mean, as a parent, you always want the best for your kids.
Yeah.
So seeing that, I mean, it was exactly what you just touched on, like seeing that struggle and stuff like that. It's very difficult. Whereas for me, I had to make a choice going like, do I focus on the disability or do I focus on the ability? And I kind of reset and, started realizing that I was still around. I was still alive. That was a check in the win column and enough to keep a smile on my face. And then just kind of work with what I got and, slowly move forward and do what you can. And it's amazing, like inch by inch, those inches do add up and they do equate to miles if you keep working at it. So
I love that. The inches do add up. I feel the same way. And, you must have built a whole set of tools and strategies to empower you and everything you do.
Yeah. I mean, you find little tricks of the trade. I mean, you learn from, like learning how to like put loops on everything because I don't have very good hand dexterity. So putting loops on clothing or being able to find like some sort of apparel company that, helps. Like, for example, like all my jeans, all my pants, I buy from a company in Germany called Rolling Moden, and it's meant for sitting down in a seated posture. And like what equipment works well. And the crazy thing, the one thing that eluded me was shoes. So that was what I worked on later in
Hello,
life.
Billy's.
And that's how, and that's wild because these shoes are getting us connected with so many folks, like such as yourself. So
just need to shout out how much our CVI community loves Billy's. It's, like I said, it's such a hard journey. And to have something that works and that's easy is everything. It fills our cup in more ways than you could imagine. But I mean, Henry, there's always something next to his journey. He's 11 now. He has a rare genetic disorder. So there's, so he's grown into some new, orthotic instability. So now he has SMOs, and it's like, and immediately I'm like, oh, I know what shoes he's going to wear, like instantly. And, it was just so easy. And so he loves his Billies. It's snowing here today, and I got to try out his boots for the first time, and they're so great. And it's everything. And, the CVI community is so heterogeneous that we have students, kids and adults, all types of, motor, fine motor, all the whole spectrum. And so you really it's just, you help us out so much. And you support our community like this, and getting the word out. I mean, I met your folks at the National Down Syndrome Conference in Orlando, and we had the best conversation. I'm like, yes, of course they're here. And it's just, you're really great. You're good people. So.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, it's definitely a team effort. I mean, so much of our success, I say this quite often to our team, is it's rooted in word of mouth, and then building strong relationships. And a lot of these strong relationships come in the form of collaborations. So we as a brand are super excited to be collaborating with CVI Now, with Perkins. And I mean, it's just really excited to support you.
And even, CVI visual motor tasks, being able to use vision to guide upper limbs and lower limbs. And so even just learning to tie shoes might just be really difficult. So just Henry can get his shoes off by himself, that he's never happened before. So, and it's like, what do you want your kids to spend the energy on, and if we have a choice between, he's learning Braille and print, to all the energy on tying his shoes. Like we have to make these choices, and you follow his lead, just like you said, you made this choice to live the way you want to live. And I want to take the lead and see how Henry's doing that too. Like, what tools does he want? What's going to empower him? And that's really what keeps me going. So thanks.
One of our earliest taglines was empowering independence.
Yeah. Right. And independence can look differently for everybody and for different reasons. And so that just meets so many people on so many different levels.
Yeah. And in independence, I mean, and I love that you touched on that, because I hadn't thought about this in a while, but independence doesn't need to be 100% independent in all things. If you're independent in one little thing that you couldn't do before, that's something as small as like brushing your teeth or whatever, or feed yourself, all of a sudden, if you're able to take back that independence, it's amazing how fulfilling and satisfying, and it just feels good. It just feels good to take that kind of control. It does mean way more so. And it's hard to measure because it's just all emotion.
Well, it feels good, but then you also see the accumulation of confidence that then Henry then can do something else now, like he can do this, and now he can see that he can do other things. It's just, you can measure it because it puts it on a path of confidence building, of ability building, of choice of how you want to go about your day. So
oh my gosh, Rachel, we can talk on and on and on and on about this, because you're right. You're absolutely right. Because what it does is it just like opens up it sets you up for the next door to open, to open up and go
the next inch. Right.
Yeah. The next inch. Wow. Oh. Well, Rachel, I want to be respectful of your time. This was absolutely amazing.
Your time.
But
I know it's amazing to connect with you. I'm like fangirling a little bit.
Oh, well, the honor is truly ours to be able to be. Yeah, I love this stuff. I live for this kind of stuff. So this is really special for me. So, but I want to give you the mic one more time. Is there anything else? Is there anything else you want to talk about before
many things. Yeah, we have a big conference coming up in June 23rd to 25th in Boston, the Perkins CVI conference. The focus is on building meaningful recognition. Check out CVI Now, Perkins.org for more information. And I know Billy's is supporting you're sponsoring and you're going to be there with us, I believe. For I think just the beginning of 2024, the first 100 signups get a Billy's gift card. So thank you.
Yes.
That's just wonderful. So thank you for all your support with our conference. And it's a way to bring together parents and medical professionals and educators just to move this field forward in a big, bold way. And just we're lucky to be a part of it. So.
Well, everyone out there, let's throw the social up here again. So to connect with CVI Now on the website, or excuse me, on the screen right now, we have the website. It's www.cvinow.org. On social, again, on both on Facebook and Instagram, it is at CVI Now. Rachel,
Billy,
that was absolutely awesome.
Thank you,
dearly. That was awesome.
Oh, I appreciate you for so much and so much you're giving to our community and to millions of people. You are incredible and a force. Keep on.
Well, it's a team effort, but thank you very much. Everyone else out there, this was another episode of Open Book. So I hope you enjoyed it. We'll have another one again really soon. So until again, take care.
Be well.